Welcome back to IRV News, the #1 place where currency revaluation news, market whispers, and behind-the-scenes updates come alive. If you're an Iraqi Dinar or Vietnamese dong holder, you're going to want to listen closely today. We're talking about what could be the biggest buzz of 2025. Rumors and reports suggesting that the Iraqi dinar might be headed toward an eye-watering rate of $5.90 per IQD, and the Vietnamese dong potentially hitting $4.29 per VND. These numbers are sparking intense speculation in the RV community, igniting both excitement and caution as we dig into what's real, what's possible, and what could be just smoke. So grab your notepad, because this discussion could be life-changing for those holding these currencies and waiting for the right moment to exchange. Let's dive in. The first thing we need to unpack is where these rates are coming from. In the past few weeks, a handful of online chatter sources, purported insider bank contacts, and social media intel providers have all claimed that new backscreen rates are showing up in select banking systems. They allege that in private or closed-door banking networks, not visible to the public, rates for the Iraqi dinar are flashing as high as $5.90, and the Vietnamese dong around $4.29. To put this in perspective, at today's official market rate, the dinar trades at about 1,300 IQD to the US dollar, and the dong trades at around 25,000 VND to the US dollar. Those rumored rates would represent astronomical increases, transformative for anyone holding even a modest amount of these currencies. But here's where the speculation gets intense. Some sources claim these are contract rates designed for special groups, large currency holders, or humanitarian project participants under non-disclosure agreements. Others believe they might be the real public rates. We could see if the global currency resetified, referred to as the GCR, goes live, in the way some in the RV community have been predicting for years. There's also a camp that says these rates are placeholder figures being used in certain bank systems for testing purposes. It might never hit the open market. The challenge, as always, is that no bank, government, or financial authority has publicly confirmed these numbers, leaving everyone trying to piece together the puzzle from whispers, screenshots, and anecdotal reports. Let's look at the Iraqi side first. Iraq has been making moves that align with the possibility of a rate adjustment. Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani has been vocal about economic reforms, reducing reliance on the US dollar, and increasing Iraq's participation in global trade using the dinar. Over the past year, Iraq has tightened currency controls, cracked down on black market dollar sales, and increased gold reserves. Oil revenues remain strong, and Iraq is seeking more foreign investment in infrastructure, energy, and agriculture. These moves could theoretically support a stronger dinar, especially if the country stabilizes its political environment and reduces corruption. But for the dinar to leap to $5.90 publicly, Iraq would need to undergo a massive shift in economic valuation, something critics say is far-fetched without a coordinated global reset. On the Vietnamese side, the dong's rumored $4.29 rate has also stirred intense curiosity. Vietnam has been one of the fastest-growing economies in Asia, with robust manufacturing exports, a growing middle class, and increasing foreign investment. Some economists believe Vietnam's currency is undervalued, a strategy the country has used for decades to boost exports. If Vietnam were to revalue its currency to something like $4.29, it would represent one of the most aggressive upward adjustments in modern currency history. Such a move would dramatically increase the purchasing power of Vietnamese citizens, but it would also shock export markets, something Vietnam's government has been cautious about. This is why many analysts believe that if a revaluation occurs, it might be gradual, rather than an overnight jump to such a high rate. That said, within the RV community, the idea of an overnight flip of the switch remains alive and well. This theory ties into the global currency reset narrative, where multiple countries would adjust their currency values in a coordinated fashion, backed by gold or other tangible assets, as part of a shift away from the current fiat-based system. In this view, the dinar's $5.90 and the dong's $4.29 are not standalone miracles, but part of a much larger financial restructuring. Proponents argue that such rates could be sustainable if the US dollar is simultaneously adjusted downward in global value, or if new trade agreements and asset-backed systems replace the current SWIFT-dominated financial structure. The question, of course, is timing. Many RV followers have been hearing it's happening this week for years, only to be disappointed. But something feels different to some observers in 2025. Banks have reportedly increased training for certain staff on foreign currency exchanges, especially those involving currencies not typically traded at high volumes like the dinar and dong. Certain redemption center facilities, special locations set up for large-scale currency exchanges, are rumored to have been put on standby multiple times in recent months. There have been claims that Tier 1 and Tier 2 exchanges reserved for government entities, large corporations, and connected individuals have already quietly taken place at high rates, with Tier 4B, the general public of currency holders, waiting for their turn. This brings us to the psychology of the RV community. Whenever a new set of rumored rates emerges, hope spikes dramatically. People begin calculating potential payouts, planning humanitarian projects, dreaming of debt-free lives, and envisioning early retirements. The talk of $5.90 for the dinar and $4.29 for the dong is no different. Holders are dusting off their exchange plans, calling wealth managers, and debating whether to take a street rate at public banks or hold out for private contract rates. This mental preparation can be empowering, but it can also lead to frustration if the rates don't materialize as expected. For those considering what these rates would mean in practical terms, the math is staggering. Let's say you hold 1 million Iraqi dinar. At today's rate, that's worth less than $800. At $5.90, it would be worth $5.9 million. If you hold 5 million Vietnamese dong, currently worth about $200, at $4.29, it would be worth $21.45 million. The life-changing potential is obvious, which is why these rumors create such powerful reactions. But with high reward comes high risk. There's no guarantee these rates will ever hit the public market, and no one should bet their financial stability on unconfirmed whispers. In this climate, smart currency holders are preparing for multiple scenarios. The first scenario is that the RV happens at or near these rumored rates, in which case immediate planning for tax obligations, investment diversification, and long-term wealth preservation will be crucial. The second scenario is that a revaluation occurs but at much lower rates, perhaps 50 cents to $1.50 for the dinar, and 10 cents to 50 cents for the dong, which would still bring substantial gains for holders, but not the astronomical windfalls some expect. The third scenario is that no RV happens in the near future, and holders must decide whether to keep holding, sell on the open market, or repurpose their financial strategy. Another element worth discussing is the global economic backdrop. In 2025, tensions between major economies remain high. Inflation has been volatile, and many countries are exploring alternatives to the US dollar for trade settlements. The rise of BRICS nations Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, along with other partners, has led to discussions about new reserve currencies backed by commodities like gold, oil, and rare earth minerals. If Iraq and Vietnam align themselves with these initiatives, their currencies could indeed gain strength. In fact, Iraq's strong oil reserves and Vietnam's manufacturing dominance make them attractive players in any such system. But the mechanics of getting from today's values to the rumored rates would require a tightly managed and globally coordinated shift. Some in the RV community believe that central banks, the IMF, and certain global financial entities are intentionally keeping quiet to avoid mass speculation before the official release. There's also the argument that too much public knowledge could cause market instability, bank runs, or speculative chaos. This secrecy, while frustrating, is consistent with how large financial shifts have been handled historically, often in the middle of the night or over weekends, to minimize disruption. As we consider the possibility of these rates being real, we also have to acknowledge the track record of RV rumors. Many predictions over the past decade have come and gone without materializing. The difference now, according to believers, is that Iraq and Vietnam have both reached key economic milestones. Geopolitical alignments have shifted, and the technology, for instance, global financial recalibration, now exists. Whether that's enough to push the button remains to be seen. If you're holding dinar or dong, the best course of action right now is to stay informed, stay patient, and prepare for multiple outcomes. That means having your currencies authenticated and safely stored, knowing where your nearest participating exchange locations are, and having a clear financial plan for each possible rate scenario. It also means avoiding rash decisions based on hype alone. Even if these rates do go live, the process of exchanging, securing funds, and